Ladies and gentlemen, grunts and girls, welcome to episode 21 of the Bullets to Beans podcast. As always, I'm your host, Doc Joslin. This is the last week of August 2020. Joining me in the studio in just a little bit will be co-host Taryn Peplow. We'll be talking about current events in America this week that just keep seeming to spiral down. I'm going to revisit briefly my cancer analogy from last week's show. We're going to get into the 22-a-day suicide challenge with the 22-a-day push-up challenge for suicide awareness. We'll have a little bit of a discussion about that. I might hurt some folks' feelings on that. I'm not trying to, but just an honest discussion. And then we're going to get into, as veterans and warriors, our version of a bad day should be different than everybody else's, but everyone seems to be a little bitch online and get their feelings hurt. So we're going to talk about warriors being bitches. So stay tuned. Episode 21 is coming up. The video, and then we'll record audio. And welcome to episode 20. Taryn finally made it into the studio this morning after a long wait.
Yep, a couple weeks. I had SWAT training last week and some busy shit with family and all that. So
and then he slept in. He's avoiding talking about sleeping in.
Nope, I slept in. First day off of the week. So
he deserved it. So one of the things I wanted to do at the beginning of the show was revisit last week. My cancer analogy in talking with you and talking with a couple other listeners. I owe some folks an apology, evidently, because a lot of fuckers thought I was dying.
I thought you were better than that, though. I was like, no way can Dave tell us he has cancer in a fucking podcast. So I'm like, no, I can't do it. And then he talked about America's cancer, and I'm like, well, all right.
Yeah.
He's on to something.
Yeah, and I hope...
I'm glad you don't have cancer.
Thank you. Yeah. Not yet.
Yeah.
I did just finish my burn pit registry with the VA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of that, the doctor was like, the thing that we're most worried about with you is cancer later on in life. I'm like, yeah, fuck off. Thanks.
Well, I can do another podcast about it.
Yeah.
And this time... Yeah.
We should probably talk about burn pit registry on a show because I think it's important for folks to get involved with that.
I think I've done it.
Yeah. Well, so on a sidebar, now that we're talking about it, I enrolled in the burn pit registry in 2015 in the VA and dealing with all their stuff. And so did Derek Heavener, the post commander of the VFW. He enrolled in the burn pit registry, I think in 2000 and end of 14 or beginning of 15.
That's probably when I did it, I think.
Yeah. We were within probably a month or two of each other just by having chance registering for it. We got our burn pit registry phone call and intake appointment within a week of each other last month. 5 years.
I need to look into that because I remember doing the registry online and not hearing anything back.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had an appointment about it. So,
So veterans, if you have not enrolled in the burn pit registry online, and I'll put a link to how to do it in the show notes, go in and enroll in the burn pit registry. It might take a couple years for them to call you. And then
wait 5 years for a callback.
Yeah. But the good thing is kind of like Agent Orange, they weren't ahead of the information, data mining and the data collection. And a lot of this is going into, once you're in the burn pit registry, they follow you in your healthcare in the VA healthcare system to track things, not just to be able to provide you with better healthcare, but other veterans that might not have registered, they can recognize similarities and patterns of health problems and better provide care. So it is an attempt to provide better healthcare for veterans.
And it can't hurt you to do it.
No.
It takes a couple minutes, I think, to do the registry.
Yeah. And it takes a couple minutes to do online. It was about a 45-minute virtual appointment by the phone because nobody's seeing actual healthcare right now. And then another thing that came out of it, they're like, your ratings need to be adjusted. So could get more money. I don't know. So anyway, I talked about America having a cancer, choosing between which cancer you would want, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. And the analogy being that's kind of what our choices are in this year's election. I hope that spawns some thought for folks. because at the end of the day, nobody wants cancer, but when you're stuck with it, you're stuck with it.
Yeah, you get no choice.
Right.
I think it was a great analogy.
And those are our choices in November. But what I would ask people to do, and I did in last week's show, is get educated and do your research. And again, research is not Facebook.
Yeah, outside of Instagram and Facebook and all that shit.
Right. Look at congressional voting records. Look at what Kamala Harris did as Attorney General in California. Yep. Look at the things that she did support and didn't support, and draw your own conclusions that at the end of the day, we're going to end up with cancer. What are we going to most look like at the end of it? And the answer needs to be, we need to still look like America at the end of it. Base your decision on that, not on short-term feel-good things, and people are going to vote with their hearts, not their minds, which is unfortunate. And people are going to vote for is what's important to them and them alone.
Yep.
And it's hard to break out of that because it's emotional.
It's emotional, and it's a lot of just who makes the biggest wave on, unfortunately, social media now, Yeah. Everybody, nobody watches the news anymore. I try not to watch the news anymore because it makes me mad because it's so one-sided sometimes. Yeah, and I spend, when something gets my attention on the news, so on my phone, I have Fox, I have CNN. You got to cross them. You have to cross all them. Of them. Yep. Then I have AP and Reuters. So I have a minimum of 4 different sources, and I cross-reference how it's being reported. Yep. And then if something actually gets my attention and I'm concerned about it or I'm intrigued by it, I'll go to BBC. Oh, yeah. Do some more digging. I'll do some digging. BBC. How is this being reported in Europe? How is this being reported outside of America? I don't go to Canada to any of their news outlets because they're Canadians. Yeah. I can say that. My wife's half Canadian. You got to sift through all the hockey shit to get to the good news. Hey, it's a hat trick, eh? But yeah, so try to become educated. And here's the thing. The analogy of the civil unrest, or the prediction of the civil unrest, unfortunately, I think that's completely just completely accurate. Yep. I think either way. Yeah. You brought up a good point. No matter who wins, there's going to be more civil unrest. And even last night in Portland's been under siege for, I think we're on 93 days now of riots every night. Yep. A Trump caravan, as it was described, was driving through downtown Portland in support of President Trump and his hopes for re-election, and by intent. And I'm not going to try to say that it was just by happen chance. They just happened to cross paths. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they intended to drive right to where the protests were. Oh, yeah. Right. So you've got big 4-wheel drive trucks with American flags hanging out the back of them. And cause that's the stereotypical Trump supporter. And, they drove through the protests. And I've got to go back and read the developing story, but at some point in time, I believe that there was an exchange of gunfire, and I think an actual Trump supporter was shot and killed. And it's a hard balance, between how far you push and how what I don't know what and you then, do. And then you've got the young man from Kenosha. Yep, and I support him. Oh, absolutely, I do. And when you read when you actually read the backstory and the witness accounts, yep, all 3 people, watch the videos. You can watch the videos too. All 3 people that he engaged had attacked him. Yep, and 2 of them with deadly intent. Oh yeah, yeah. And the argument that people make is, well, he crossed state lines to instigate. No, that kid was cleaning up graffiti and doing his part for the community. Well, he works in Kenosha. He might live in Antioch, Illinois, and yes, but that's a border town. I mean, that's a border. Right. It's going from geography. Here to 40 minutes to Palmer. Right, exactly. And who cares where he's at? He can go wherever the hell he wants. Well, and so I listened to Colin Noir, Second Amendment advocate, and an attorney. He's a bar licensed attorney. Yeah. I watched Colion. Colion is Colion. Is how you spell his name. I watched his breakdown of it. And because he's an attorney, anytime that there's a Second Amendment
protested shooting or anything like that. He does a really good
Analyze it all.
analysis of it. And he was like, there's no, he looked at Illinois law, he looked at Wisconsin law, and this kid did not break a single law. He had every right to have a rifle.
Yep.
At age 17 in either state. And then there is no law, or there's no violation of a law in crossing a state line for a 17-year-old. Because in that part of the country, and I've stayed in Missouri and hunted in Iowa.
Yeah.
I mean, that part of the geography of the United States in the Midwest, it's not uncommon for people to cross state lines in hunting, in recreation. Where my dad lives a little bit further east in Maryland, we go ride four-wheelers. My dad lives in Maryland. We could ride to Pennsylvania and West Virginia because he lives in that very northwestern tip.
That they all meet.
So, I mean, So get smart, folks. Don't draw your own conclusions and be open-minded. And that's the challenge with most things in America right now is
people are set in their ways. And if it's to argue the point they disagree with, just to argue it, they'll do it.
I watched,
whether it's right or wrong.
I felt bad. I posted something on Facebook yesterday, and one of my good friends who I served with, I call him a good friend, but we haven't actually seen each other in years, but I consider him a good friend. We served in the military together. We fought in Iraq together.
Next year, and it's like you never left each other.
He's a man of color, and he is focused on obviously things that are impacting his culture, his life, and his community. But what I saw in his post yesterday, although they did seem one-sided, he did seem objective.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, from what I saw out of a lot of my other friends, is they didn't give him the same courtesy of objectiveness. Now, although he was a little bit locked in tunnel visioned, that whole conversation was tunnel visioned. Yep. And at a certain point when emotion got so high, nobody saw anything.
Oh yeah.
Initially when my buddy and I were disagreeing and dissenting on each other's opinion, I just said, you've given me things to think about, and I'm just going to stop engaging right now. And I respect you, and I don't want to get to the point where we lose our ability to talk.
And remembering the fact that we fought for this country so people can have their own opinions.
Exactly. We don't have to agree.
Can respect. Yeah. I may not agree with it, but I respect the fact that you have your own opinion.
Right.
And my brothers died and I fought so you can have your own opinion.
Right.
And remembering that's important.
Yeah. And then the other thing to revisit from last week's show before we get into this week's content, the Kennedy Defensive Solutions Challenge, the challenge that I'm doing with Travis Kennedy, with 12-year veteran Navy SEAL, the shooting and PT challenge, I'll continue to have.
Sorry, it sounds like there's an alarm going off outside.
Someone breaking into the studio. This will be fun on YouTube.
As long as it's not mine.
Oh, yeah, that might not be fun.
I don't think so.
Is your dog fun?
Right? I think it stopped.
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry.
I know. So the shooting and PT challenge with Travis Kennedy, I'll continue to have links in the show notes on that. That starts for me tomorrow, and I'm kind of excited about it, and I'm kind of nervous about it as well because
get your ass in shape.
I know I'm fucking getting rounds of shape.
You can't be worse than some other people doing it, I'm sure.
Yeah, but to that extent, because we are still in the pandemic crisis season, whatever we're going to call it, find something to hold yourself accountable. Find something to get you off the couch, out of the house, and doing something healthy. Nothing is worse in the middle of a healthcare crisis than becoming unhealthy. And for veterans, since we are a veteran-centric podcast, don't isolate. Find something that builds community. Find something that builds something else in your life to fill the void. When you allow the voids to grow, that's when your demons come out. Good things don't happen then. So look for updates. Hopefully we can get some shooting videos done. I have a shooting regiment that I have to participate in, and hopefully Taryn and I can find some time to get to the range.
Yeah, love to.
And record some pews. And so next we're going to talk about the 22 push-up a day challenge for suicide awareness. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back in just a moment. Where's my mouse?
peek outside.
Yeah.
Piss real quick. I don't think that Expedition has like the motion alarm thing.
Which one am I recording on now? Main segment. Or on that one.
I was disappointed because we always do the guns and hoses hockey game.
Right.
And SWAT used to repel from their entry display would repel from the rafters of the Sully.
Right.
And I missed that. They stopped doing it.
Well, yeah.
And now the Sully home is a homeless.
Well, yeah, you can rappel in now for work.
Yeah.
Not for fun. Yeah.
It'd be like falling into a fucking pit of zombies.
Yeah. God. Ready?
Yep. Let's do it.
And welcome back to segment 2, appropriately segment 2, because we're going to talk about 22 push-ups a day for 22 days and how that's not doing dick for suicide awareness.
I got to do my 22 right now.
Yeah.
Let's take a break.
Look, so I respect the attempt in the intent here. And I've been nominated 3 different times. And I know I've probably pissed some people off. They're like, oh, he's fat, because you can see on video I'm fat. Let me get this out of the way, because I don't want to showboat or toot my own horn.
We appreciate the thought.
I appreciate the thought, but here's the thing. I work in the veteran anti-suicide or suicide awareness space every day.
Yep.
I own a foundation. I co-own a foundation. I'm the surgeon at the VFW post. I volunteer with Team Rubicon. I have a podcast show that I'm producing in an attempt to unite and bond the veteran community. I work in that space every day. And my concern in what I've seen, and I will not highlight or spotlight one specific individual in this discussion, but what I've seen are people that on day 23, I wonder what they're doing for veteran suicide awareness.
They feel better about themselves.
Right.
And that's you and I talked about it before. It's kind of one of those feel good, like make yourself feel good about thinking you're doing something for the community.
Yeah.
And it's like giving a homeless person $1.
Yeah. What does that do?
You don't really do it for the homeless person. You do it because it makes you feel good. You can go home and say, man, I did my part today. I really helped that guy out.
And you can afford it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the 22 push-ups, I think it's people think it's a good thought, but in my darkest hour, when I'm struggling with shit, the last thing I'm thinking about is, fuck, I'm glad that person did 22 push-ups for me on Facebook. Yeah.
So one of the previous guests on the show, comedian Jonah Maddox, he actually did a video. He did a great job with it and included his son. And I'll put links. I'll try to put links to it if I can find the links in the show notes. And he breaks it down. So here's some basic stuff behind it. This is the 22 a day challenge for suicide awareness. Has been going on since 2013.
And that was news to me. I hadn't realized it'd been going on that long.
Yeah.
And then it pop up every once in a while on Facebook and think, oh, all right. What?
Yeah. The veteran suicide rate has not gone down at all since this started. And I don't think it would be difficult to say that it has had a positive impact. And in that regard, being objective, I think it would be difficult to say that it's had a negative impact or it hasn't had any impact.
Probably neutral, nothing.
But nothing's having an impact. So doing 22 push-ups a day, we haven't figured out the rubric yet. As a community, we haven't figured out what the rubric is to break the chain of veteran suicide. But doing 22 push-ups a day on Facebook and then challenging one of your brothers to do 22 push-ups, I get the cascading effect that if you do it in over 22 days, you nominate 22 other people, that it's going to grow awareness. But here's the thing, it's not.
Day 23. You're done with 22 like you brought up.
Yeah. What happens on day 23? And then let's talk about one thing. And this is just former NCOs. Nobody does a correct fucking push-up. Yeah. And so when I see those videos, it is comedy. Because when I see those videos, half the time, 30 seconds into it, I'm like, one. You've not done one real push-up.
PT test is over.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, terminated.
Yep.
And we're making light of it, but the reality is that the point, and Jonah did a better job of it in his video. What does end veteran suicide? What's going to keep a veteran from killing themselves? It's breaking the cycle of withdrawal and isolation.
Yeah.
It's engaging employment at whatever level they can handle. Some people just can't handle full-time employment, but some people can handle part-time employment that is engaging, that is challenging without it being overwhelming. I'm highly functional in my recovery with PTSD and what I do.
Yep.
And I recognize there's people that had it way worse than I did, that digested it way worse than I did.
Oh, yep.
And they're just not as functional as me. And that's not a knock on them, but in finding a life that's engaging them to where it breaks down the isolation. It breaks down the
isolation
withdrawal.
is the key. I mean, that's the isolation, I think, ultimately is what causes all of it.
But so here's the thing. If you live in isolation, you probably don't play on Facebook very often. So you probably don't see the people doing push-ups.
Yeah. Well, and back to, I mean, like I said, in the gist of it, it's the thought that counts, I guess, but I could give a fuck less who's doing 22 push-ups a day on Facebook.
Right.
For
well, and think about op orders. Think about how many op orders we sat through in our military career, and well, that briefed well, but it just won't execute right.
Yeah. Like,
so it briefs well, it sounds good. It just it's not doing anything to break down the cycle of veterans killing themselves.
No.
And I would rather see people spend 22 days calling 22 veterens.
Hey, that's a good one.
Right. And Jonah brought that up.
Yeah.
That's not an original thought.
Not your
I got to give him credit. I mean, it's one of the first things that comes to my head too, as I sitting here is the last time I got nominated. I was like, you fucking kidding me, dude? I don't want to, whatever, but call 22 veterans a day. And here's the thing, by 22 days, exponentially 22.
That's what makes a difference.
Right. Reaching out to 22 different people going, hey brother, I'm thinking about you. I haven't heard from you or spoken to you in a long time. I know our lives haven't crossed. Yep. Because you live in this corner, I live in this corner, but I just want you to know that you're not alone.
I tell you what, I'm bad about calling people. Yeah. Like I self-isolate. I don't call people. But throughout the year, I get phone calls from team members that I was on the team with. And it means more to me for them to reach out and talk, and we'll talk for a couple hours. And like just that is huge. So the 22 phone calls a day, every veteran has easily 22 guys or girls that they can call. Right. And look up and say, hey, how you doing? Just want to check in on you. I'm thinking about you.
And on day 13, if you run out of people to call, start fucking list over.
Again. Yeah.
That's 2 weeks later.
Hey man, I just called you 13 days ago, but I ran out of guys. So I'm calling you again. How you doing?
Right. Yeah.
I like that.
You know, in real-time real-world example, one of the individual that I was talking about in the first segment, where, you know, my platoon mate from Germany and Iraq, where we're talking about politics and problems in the country, you know, he and I don't speak very often. In the last 48 hours, we've spoken a ton. And because I had a post that got his attention and he's drawn into me, like this morning, he saw my post about in the studio today, cutting episode 21. Yeah. He's like, I didn't even know you had a podcast. And so now, you know, and he's like, I was going to start at the beginning, but then I saw what episode 1 was, and I've got challenges, so I don't think I'm there yet. I'm going to start at the top and work down.
That's
right?
beauty. You can pick and choose which episode you listen to.
Right. But we're more connected now in the last 48 hours than we have been in years.
And just that little bit of knowledge that somebody, your brother that you went through shit with years ago, just that little bit of knowledge that they're thinking the same thing, or they're thinking about you, or they're remembering some of the shit that you guys went through together. Yeah. Is sometimes enough to change. I mean, to change your whole day, change your whole outlook on your life at that point.
Yeah. And what's funny is if you were to get into my feed and read the posts and figure out who I'm talking about, we've spent 24 hours disagreeing with each other, and here I'm talking about him in a positive light.
Oh yeah. Well, you love him. You're never going to, back to he's allowed to have his own opinions. He fought for his own opinions.
Side by side.
And you know what? That is okay. That's the beauty of America.
Yeah.
That's what makes America great, is that we can disagree and still be pleasant. Right. Still go out for a beer and enjoy each other's company.
And he loves beer. So who doesn't? So we can wrap up the 22 a day push-up challenge. Look, if that's what you want to do, by all means do it, but think beyond it. On what I would ask is, if this is my call to action for this segment, is do something more than just 22 push-ups. First of all, do them right. Is Army leaders or former Army leaders.
And if you can't, do a shit ton before you start filming yourself.
Yeah, work up to it.
There's got to be YouTube videos on a proper push-up.
There are.
So
it's sad.
You got to do that.
I think the Army has a field manual on how to do a proper push-up.
Probably.
I think so.
I think so.
What I would challenge people to do is when you're recording yourself doing your 22 push-ups, talk about what else you're doing other than push-ups. And then I would ask you to tell me what you're doing on day 23.
Your plans after.
Your plans to continue suicide awareness afterwards. So for the 3 people that have nominated me in the past and I've let you down because I didn't do a fucking push-up on Facebook for you, it's not that I don't care. It's that I care beyond doing 22 push-ups. So if you want to see me do 22 push-ups on Facebook for suicide awareness, I want to see people start talking about what they're doing on day 23. I want to see what people are going to start doing after they stop doing push-ups. Again, I work in the veteran space as an advocate and a volunteer on various different dynamic levels, from owning a foundation to having my own show to volunteering with different veteran organizations. I'm actively engaged in fighting the war on veteran suicide every day. So and I'm not saying everybody has to do what I do.
You don't have to.
No.
One phone call.
One phone call.
One phone call.
Even if you do one phone call a day for 22 days. And if you want to feel good on social media, record yourself doing the phone call. You know what? Because that will probably warm more hearts and get more likes and more hearts. And now there's a new emoji, the heart squeeze one on Facebook. It means caring.
I just look at the shit pile and that's my favorite one.
There's an emoji squeezing a heart that evidently means caring now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have yet to receive that emoji, I guess.
I'll send you
or
one.
used it. All right.
There you go.
As long as there's some hearts and kisses too.
There you go. So, and again, not knocking people for trying, right? It's a good effort, but think about the impact that it's actually going to have. And if it's going to do anything, and then if it's not going to do anything, which it's proven over 7 years to not do anything, just for the record, figure out something that will make a change in one veteran's life. And everybody would agree, if you can save one veteran's life from suicide, that's worth it. I think reaching out, breaking down the isolation, and just saying, hey, brother, hey, sister, we haven't spoken in a while, and I wanted you to know I was thinking of you.
Make a phone call.
Yep. Make a phone call. Reach out by text.
Something.
FaceTime them. Scare the shit out of them. Show your ugly mug on the phone.
Right.
You know, I accidentally FaceTime people by more than I should accidentally do it. Because, I mean, you hit the wrong button on your phone and all of a sudden
fuck.
Yeah. So, anyway, if you got your feelings hurt about me knocking your 22 push-ups, I'm sorry. Just do better. Be better. I think we beat that one up.
Yeah, we did.
We beat that one up.
the make a phone call. That's the best fucking thing you can do, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Check in on each other.
Yep. So on that note, hang tight. We'll be back to segment 3 in just a second about veterans being bitches.
Quit being a little bitch.
All right. Recording video. Got those turned on. And welcome back to segment 3. It's appropriate that we followed the last segment, I think, with this segment. It might have been by design. Because I knew last segment, I'm smart that way.
Right. A lot of time and effort goes in by this guy.
You know, I knew the last segment on the push-up challenge for suicide awareness was probably going to hurt some folks' feelings, right? And so what I want to close on today is veterans being little bitches.
So if it hurts your feelings, quit being a bitch about it.
And pay attention to what we're about to say. So what I see, and I participate in a lot of different veteran communities online in the real space, like face-to-face, because that's still a thing, folks. It still happens.
What?
Yeah. It's a new app on your phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, you know, a line that I've kind of tagged or coined, and I started using this line with my job. When I left, I transitioned out of the military, got my first job, still the same company I work with. And we had a high degree of turnover because I got hired on to fix some shit. Yep. So I was fixing shit.
but it caused a lot of turnover. And so my HR manager called. I'd been on for like 90 days. And my HR manager called Bud early in the morning. Hey, we were just kind of worried about you. They were worried about me being an early flight risk because I flipped almost 50% of my staff in 90 days. So kind of a stressful time.
You come in, kick everybody out, and then...
Yeah, some people left by choice. Some people left not by their choice. And so anyway, they call me. They're worried about me leaving or the challenges. And I kind of chuckled, and I was like, have you read my resume? My version of a bad day is different than everybody else's.
Oh, yeah.
I've literally shot my way off a mountaintop. I've been IED'd. I've had a sniper try to kill me.
Yep.
My version of a bad day is different.
Yeah. If you're not getting... and firefights are good or bad. Like I kind of... A good day is a firefight.
Yeah.
But if you're not getting shot at, you're not getting blown up.
I go home to my wife and kids every night.
People aren't trying to kill you.
Right.
Yeah, and you go home to your wife and kids every day.
Yeah.
Like, that's a pretty good fucking day.
It is. So I started coining that phrase and using it frequently, that my version of a bad day is different than everybody else's.
Yep.
Right? And it's not just me, is Doc, right? Veterans across the veteran space, our version of a bad day should be different than everybody else's.
Correct.
Even if you didn't forward deploy, even if you didn't engage in active combat, our version of a bad day, because of basic training. If basic training was your worst day, that's worse than most civilians.
Right?
If you survive Shark Tank and with 5 drill sergeants in your face, fucking you up from left and right, your version of a bad day is different than everybody else.
Some dudes you wake up, ass crack of dawn, 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. to do PT. That's still probably a worse day than some of you dickheads are having right now.
Yeah.
In the civilian sector.
Absolutely. And so when you think about what we've been through, whether you were a dude in the rear with the gear or you were a forward deployed warfighter in that veteran space, right? Our version of a bad day is supposed to be worse than everybody else's.
Yep.
And then when I see in person, what I see largely on social media, you would think that the veteran community is largely filled with snowflakes because people get ass chapped so fast.
Yep.
And the way they respond on each other with just sheer aggression and violence, and they're unwilling to let things go and just blow it off. It kind of disproves my theory that our version of a bad day is worse than everybody else's.
Best thing I ever did was stop caring.
Yeah.
Like, who gives a shit what people think?
Right.
I don't care the only people that I care about, that how they see me, are my wife and my daughters.
Yep.
That's the only people I have to impress in the world today. I could give a shit less what anybody else thinks about me. And it makes life way easier.
Yeah.
I don't care what people say or call names or post on Facebook. Get over it.
Right. And we've had this episode already, we've had multiple discussion about me and one of my former platoon mates and the very polite and collegial disagreement that we've had running for the last day or two. And he's very thick-skinned. He's always been thick-skinned. And I would expect nothing less of him. He's always been a consummate professional and a funny one at that. But I see people that I know that I've served with that I was like, I honestly thought they were better than that.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a side of folks that quite honestly is a little bit disappointing. And in here, I would pose this a different way. If you're a veteran engaged in some social media, Facebook, whatever, Twitter, that is open forum and not just for the veteran space. And I've talked about this I think back in episode 2 and 3, as a veteran, you're an ambassador for the whole veteran community. You represent us as a collective.
Yeah. As much as you like it or not, you never lose that.
Right.
Like, you're always going to represent the veterans and then prior military. That's
absolutely. And so when you're involved in a community forum where you've got civilians, where you've got people from other countries, and you become so inflamed and so violent in your vernacular so fast over dumb shit, you make us all look bad. And
it's a weakness.
It is a weakness. And here's the thing is I have to accept that I'm part of that. I'm getting better. I'm growing.
Yeah, I think we've all fallen into that.
Yeah,
category.
There's times, and my wife will tell everybody, you used to get in Twitter wars pretty bad. And I did. But I started thinking about it. I'm like, I'm making myself look like a jackass. I'm making my brothers and sisters look like idiots because
Well,
I'm
it's like-
so rapidly getting in over what?
It's what you get taught as a kid.
Right.
And I teach my kids, like, take the high ground.
Right.
When people start digging deep and being stupid, take the high ground. Sometimes the best thing you can do is not say anything back.
Right.
And
Well, and respect the fact, and we've brought it up multiple times already today, is we all fought for people to have a different opinion.
Exactly.
And for that to be okay.
yep.
For it to be okay to not have to think like a robot like everybody else.
Yeah. There's a lot of people I disagree with on politics and
Yeah.
life choices and everything else, but like it or not, that's what I fought for.
Right.
That's what our brothers have died for.
Absolutely.
Like, you're entitled to your own opinion. This is America.
Yeah.
You're supposed to.
Well, yeah, and we've fallen so far away from that, and I don't know how and why and where we started falling off of that.
I think a lot of people get out of active duty and they fall into that woe was me train where a lot of people, and I've got a buddy who says it way better than I do, and he's hilarious. But
Yeah.
people get into, each year that ticks by that you're out of the military, and you start seeing people, crying about PTSD. It's a real thing. I've got it. You've got it.
Yep.
But people kind of get on that train of, it's kind of the cool thing or it's the normal thing.
Right.
Like I know a chick she pumped shit out of airplanes, and she's on that whole PTSD train of, oh fuck, 4th of July, it kills me to hear fireworks going. And it's like, yeah, you pumped shit out of airplanes, you never deployed.
Right.
I deployed, I got blown up. I like fireworks. I like shit blowing up. But
Yeah.
people get on that train of it's become the normal thing. So you start crying about shit that other people are crying about because you think it's normal.
Yeah, and I've run into some folks as well that in the different organizations that I've worked with or volunteered with that, and I think I mentioned it on a break earlier this morning, is that people have PTSD vicariously through others.
Yeah. Well, because it's the normal. They say
Yeah.
you're supposed to have it.
Oh, you were in the military.
I spent 3 years. I
You
spent
probably
3
have
years as
PTSD.
as an admin clerk, never deploying. But man, I'm a vet, so
Yeah.
everybody else has got PTSD. I think I probably do too.
Yeah.
And get offended and crying about shit that people post on Facebook, and
Yeah.
you kind of getting on the train.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't have it, good, because I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
No.
Like if you don't have it, you don't have it.
Be happy.
Good.
And it's
Yeah,
okay.
be happy. It's not
Yeah.
something that you want.
No, absolutely not. And if you're just a sucker and you're claiming it to get money, then you're a different
Then you're
type
a
of
fucked
shithead.
anyway.
Yeah. But relative to veterans being little bitches online, just stop. Just be better. I made that very forceful.
We're either going to gain some listeners or lose some listeners.
That's right. But be better. We're supposed to be the cream of the crop of our society. We're supposed to be better than everybody else because we stood up for something that was bigger than us, that we stood up for something that meant more than just a paycheck, because being in the military is not a paycheck.
No.
I mean, you get one and it's not a great one, but it's supposed to be about something bigger than yourself. Leadership, discipline, everything that gets instilled in you from day one. And again, our version of a bad day is supposed to be worse than everybody else's. And to just get so butthurt over shit that doesn't even impact you. And it's one thing if you get into a hostile exchange with somebody that lives down the block from you and you have to see each other, what they're complaining about and what you're complaining about is actually impacting your everyday life.
And on that, you should be having the conversation in person.
You should.
Get the fuck off of Facebook or
The keyboard
Twitter
warrior-
or whatever the fuck you're on.
That keyboard warrior
Yeah.
syndrome is horrible.
Ugh.
But to get inflamed in a conversation with somebody, if you're in Alaska and you're getting inflamed and enraged in a conversation with someone who lives in Massachusetts,
What the hell's the point?
the fuck is the
Yeah.
big deal?
You will take more years off your life by worrying about shit like that.
Yep.
Then you might spend days stewing on it and being
Right.
pissed off, and then in the end, it doesn't solve it. Like
Yeah.
you finally get over it, and there's no change.
Yeah.
Why did I just spend 3 days stewing over this shit
Yep.
for nothing?
Yeah. And I had, I had a polite exchange this morning with a guy on a 9-line post on Facebook. And he was obviously on there trolling, and at the end of it, I left it with, just, have a good weekend.
People literally have nothing better to do than sign on to Facebook pages and troll and just start arguments. And not worth my fucking time.
Yeah. So because I'm a cynic, and I willfully admit that I'm a cynic, I will find people that are doing that
and just poke,
and I will just fuck with them. And it's not that I'm getting enraged or they're making me bad. It's comical for me to watch them get enraged.
Oh yeah.
It's like, that's what you get.
Yep. Well, and the thing is, I mean, and you brought it's about Facebook and Instagram and all that shit. If you don't like the posts, stop following it.
Right.
There's so many I share a Facebook with my wife.
Yeah.
And there's so much shit that pops up there that I disagree with, that is just garbage. It's just ignorant posts.
It's probably half mine.
And, well, yours is the stuff I like. But I stopped following it.
Right.
Delete it. And I tell my wife, hey, sorry, we're not following this person, or we're not doing this shit anymore. Because, she got friends from high school who have very different opinions on politics and everything else.
Right.
I was like, babe, we're not following this person anymore because they're a fucking idiot.
Well,
and I have a much better time. It's like, I don't see those stupid posts anymore.
Well, in last week's show, I talked about that one private group that I got invited to.
Yep.
That the person that invited me thought that I would agree with what was going on that site.
Kind of.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, I might dabble or lean on one side of the aisle, but you guys are so far fucking off the planet. And I saw enough, and I was like, yep, I know what this page is all about, and unfollow. Yep. And I didn't have to worry about it. In what I felt personally inside me as a veteran, as I see these, because I do take time when somebody gets my attention on Facebook, I look at their profile, I go to their LinkedIn, and see if they have a LinkedIn profile. I do some research because I give them the respect of trying to know who I'm talking to.
Yep.
Right. Like this dude that was on the 9line post that I was having fun instigating him this morning. He served 4-year enlistment as a 42 Alpha. He was he's a patient administration or an admin guy. He was an S1 dude. Right. And he's in there. Well, I understand that brotherhood. No, you don't.
Everybody plays their part. But not the same.
Right. So, but anyway, I give people the respect of trying to figure out who I'm talking to before I engage them.
Yeah.
And just earlier last week, because I have a podcast show. We're building a YouTube channel. I have a presence in the social media sphere. I can't say that I don't want to be involved in social media. As I'm sitting here recording a podcast, that would people would be like, "You're fucking lying."
Lying sack of shit.
That's right. So obviously, I participate in social media in every branch of it, and I'm interested. Not because I find news source or research there. I find research as far as where our country's going mentally.
Well, and that's the unfortunate thing for the country today is that it's largely based on social media, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that shit.
Yeah.
So you to stay up to date and at least see the opposing side, or you gotta look at it.
So last week I was in this banter with this gentleman. He was a friend of a friend. We don't know each other personally. Never met. But again, I did my normal routine. I was like, okay, this guy's got my attention. I looked at his Facebook. Okay, he's married. He's got kids. So he's concerned about society for the right reasons, right? He's emotional, and then I can see all of his other shit. But then I go look at on his LinkedIn, and I see that he's a special ed teacher, and so I did respond in a way that let him know that I'm kind of creepy and I know a little bit about you, right? I was like, look, teaching people with special needs isn't the same as fighting a war, I think is what my comment was. Oh, what does that have? He's like, you could
immediately,
you could see that I immediately triggered him because I knew something about him that he didn't know about me, but he was on a veteran thread. So he should have already known that I was a vet. And then, the dialogue kept going on, and I was like, look, I'm not trying, my son had a speech problem for a while growing up. So he had to go through
other rehab, or special
occupational
classes.
Yeah.
And
I was like, look, the counselors, the work that you do is highly underrated.
Yep.
You know, it's a very important role. As my children were growing up and they had to use or go through professionals like yourself, it was, you know, I highly respect what you do, but what I'm trying to get you to understand is I gave you the respect to spend 5 minutes to figure out who I was talking to. Did you give me the same respect? And that kind of ended the discussion. It was like, okay, you know, but if you're going to engage in the social media space, you know, be an adult, right? I mean, my children don't even get into some shit that I've seen retired sergeants majors get into.
Yeah. Remember what's important.
Right.
Like whoever is on the other end of that Facebook post, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Now-
Don't let it get under your skin. It's not worth it.
And give a shit if it's your family. I've had some challenges with my family lately. And I'm quite sure that I've upset some family members. And I hear from certain family members less lately. I would be concerned about that. Don't go so, you know, off the sphere on social media that you wreck important relationships in your life. But if other people want to not follow you and want to tell you, hey, because I talked about it in last week's episode. I had somebody who was like, yeah, I'm unfriending you for this reason. Hey,
Okay.
good luck.
Yep.
You know, you live in one part of the United States. I live in the best part of the United States, and we don't really talk other than here. So whatever, dude. But if you're, you know, the point, let's get back on track here. Veterans we should be representing the community as a whole.
Yep.
A little bit more responsibly. People don't think much of us if we all look like whiny little bitches. People don't think much of us if we act unintelligent. Some of the smartest people I've ever run into all wore a uniform, and they were not all officers.
Nope. Yeah. Quit the bickering amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
Really.
And at the end of the day, you said it, I think best is, you know, our brothers and sisters died and we fought for the right to not agree.
Yeah. And remember that.
Yeah. We fought for the right to have a dissenting opinion. And if you don't encourage that dissenting opinion, then you're really going against what we all served for. So stop being little bitches.
Be better. Remember what you were taught as a young age.
Yeah.
And let it go.
Yep.
You know, be better than the other person.
Yep.
Don't fall into that bullshit crybaby thing.
Yeah.
About stupid shit.
And I have to remind myself from time to time too.
Yeah,
right?
we were all
human.
guilty of it. Yep.
Yeah. So, we're going to pause for a second. I think we beat that up enough.
Oh yeah. Yeah. People are tired of listening probably.
Yeah. They're just fucking whining.
Tune back in. Fast forward 15 seconds. You can tune back in after this.
So I think next episode, we should probably talk about some things that are more fun than people whining and us criticizing everybody, because we kind of criticize the shit out of people today. We can talk about gun stuff.
Is the criticizer show. Yeah.
I'll be a week into my challenge with Travis Kennedy. So next week, let's talk about some gun stuff.
Sounds good to me.
All right, hang on. We're going to review our coffee in just a second.
The weekly grind.
So this week's grind is, again, from Black Rifle Coffee. It's Gunship. I'm going to read what they said. I'm glad I caught that, because that
looked pretty badass.
Yeah.
We'd have had to recut the cut the flip.
This light roast flies high like the helicopter that it's named after, featuring a floral aroma, light caramel tasting notes, and a smooth finish. This delicious roast will make your taste buds soar. First of all, I got to point out that it's a little bird on the front. So the fact that they worked soar into, I respect that. Good job, guys. From Evan and Matt and the crew at Black Rifle, I would expect nothing less than for them to work little operator words into. This is, I got to be honest, I drink Gunship quite a bit, and I get excited when my monthly subscription comes in and it's got this in it. It's just a smooth drinking coffee.
Yep.
It doesn't tear your stomach up. Some of the stuff.
Oh man, they're the latte one or their
the AK Espresso.
Yeah, that one.
I've got a bag of that upstairs too. Yeah. Murdered Out.
Tastes good. Murdered Out's my favorite.
Murdered Out is my favorite. And I can't, if any of the Black Rifle crew are watching, send us Murdered Out. We will drink the shit out of it. But no, it's just a good flavored coffee. And you can,
no creamer, nothing. Just drink it black, and it's got the nice flavor.
Yep. So this week's weekly grind from Black Rifle Coffee Gunship. And that's about it.
Yeah, so I'm excited. This weekend we're going down to Homer for a wedding, and a guy that flew with my dad in the 210th Rescue, Joe Schneider, shout out to him, had just started a coffee company called War Dog Coffee. So hopefully this weekend I'm going to go grab a couple of different flavors, and if he'll give them to me, I'll pay him for them.
We'll buy it.
Yeah, I don't mind.
If he's an upstart,
I would like to. We'll get hopefully this weekend get that back here and have some drinks and do some review on it.
Yeah, so look for, hopefully in the next episode or two, some War Dog Coffee.
War Dog Coffee.
Local Alaska roasted veteran roasts.
Yep.
And we look forward to having that on. So let's close out. So call to action, be better. Think about how we can take care of each other in a veteran space. Look in the show notes. I'll try to, we'll have some links to Travis Kennedy's page and the Kennedy Defensive Solution 30-day challenge.
Call your buddies.
Call your buddies. Don't leave people out there hanging, and just show people respect. Give people the respect that you think that you deserve yourself. Because as much as I hate this, the propaganda phrase that you see out there, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that as November gets closer, that we are all in this together. Because we need to pray for our country. It's getting to be difficult to think about what the next few months are going to bring.
Yep.
So that's all I got. Anything?
That's it.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
All right. And we'll see you guys next week, and stay frosty.